Do you dream of going on a luxury cruise, but you have no idea where to go? You're not sure actually what's going to happen on board, and you'd really look for some guidance in terms of how you can undertake your planning process. Well, in today's show, I'm going to highlight four of the key areas that you should take on board when you're thinking about planning for this luxury cruise that possibly is on your bucket list. I have just come back from a luxury cruise. In fact, 48 hours ago, I was basking in 30 degrees sunshine in Barbados, and here I am in London on a very kind of dreary day. So in today's show, I'm going to talk you through the four areas, and they are planning for the cruise, preparing for the cruise, the onboard experience, as well as the shore excursion. So they are the four areas I'm covering in today's show. Whoops. So here we are, looking at this cruise experience. And you may be wondering, well, what type of cruise could you be going on? Well, there are so many because there are hundreds of cruise companies, but I'm going to highlight just a handful of them because these companies travel all over the world. So you have P&O Cruises, which is the one that I went on, and I went on their latest ship called Avia. But you have P&O, you have Cunard, you have the Royal Caribbean, you have MSC Cruises, and you have Norwegian Cruises. They are just 5 of the global cruise companies that cover different aspects of the world. So when you're thinking about going on this cruise, what type of cruise could you be interested in? Are you looking for a solo cruise? You just want to take yourself off and you want to go and chill out? Take it easy, just having time for yourself. You could do a solo cruise. Are you part of a couple? You might be looking for a couples cruise. Is it a family-orientated cruise? Is it a multi-generational cruise? So there are different cruising experiences that you can participate within. So as I said, the cruise that I went on with a group of friends was the P&O Avia. And I just want to kind of give you a sense of what the ship was actually like. So you have a sense of trying to walk through the experiences with me. One of the things that they do on P&O, and I'm assuming all other ships, is that they produce like a daily bulletin, newsletter, update. And on P&O Avia, it was called Horizon. Now, this is really important because once you get onto the ship, you're going to have a sense of exactly what is covered on a day-to-day basis on the ship. Now, when you're thinking about, well, what other things could actually happen in the planning process? So you're looking at the type of ship, the type of experience, how far in advance that you want to start thinking about this in terms of the planning process, because the earlier that you're able to decide what type of ship, what type of experience that you want to have, is the earlier you can start planning, particularly from a budgetary point of view, because you might be a budget conscious traveler, but that doesn't mean that you can't experience luxury. So the earlier you book, you can also take advantage of early pricing. But there is something that I want to bring to your attention, because there is a way to cruise and to enjoy the luxury of cruising. And if you start researching for repositioning cruises. Now, what this means is that the cruise season in one region of the world has come to an end, and the ship is being repositioned for another region in the world. So you have the summer and you have winter. So we booked on this P&O Avia, and we went in late October. And as I said, I got back a couple of days before, but it was a repositioning cruise, meaning that the cruise was leaving from Southampton. It went into Europe, Gran Canaria, and then we sailed for 6 days across the Atlantic into the Caribbean. And the ship now is ready to take on the winter season in the Caribbean. Now, when you purchase a repositioning cruise, you still get all of the quality, all of the amenities, all of the activities, just all of the fabulousness of what a ship has to offer, but you're going to get it at a fraction of the price. Also, if you book outside of the main holidays, particularly school holiday periods, you're also going to get a better price. And for some of those who really don't want to have lots of children running around, children obviously have a right to be on cruises, but there are times when you may want a more kind of chilled vibe around this. And then booking outside of these holiday periods gives you the opportunity to experience luxury. So this is what you can start paying attention to when you're thinking of the planning phase. What is it that I'm actually thinking about? What is it that I'm looking for? The ship was stunning. The ship was beautiful. One of the features that really stood out for me in terms of the P&O Avia was it had this grand atrium, which really kind of took over 3 floors of the ship. And it was just glass right the way through this atrium, which gave you a beautiful view of the ocean. And it was wonderful to be immersed. It was quite awe-inspiring, actually, to be sailing for so many days and just being enveloped, cushioned, and supported by water. It was fabulous. I really hope you get to experience it. Now, when it comes to the preparing phase, as I said, we booked quite a way in advance, maybe 5 months in advance. And so once you've paid your deposits and you've paid the final balance, you will have at least 3 months to go before your actual cruise. And this is great for the preparation phase. Now, when you're preparing, one of the things that really started to demarcate it for me was once I'd paid my fee and my balance, it's getting yourself excited for this wonderful adventure that you're about to embark upon. And so I sort of put milestones along the way because it was so many months out ahead of the actual cruise. So the first one was paying the balance before the balance date was due. That felt really good. And that kind of started to get me into the holiday mood, even though it was a few months ahead. So I would say pick an activity, pick something that helps you demarcate when your cruise actually starts before you even step on board. The second thing that I did was I booked my train ticket. I was traveling from London to Southampton, so I booked my train ticket. At least it felt about 2.5 months prior to the cruise. And that's really when I started to diarize things and get it in my calendar. It's like, okay, I'm on my way. I'm preparing now for the cruise. Now, in terms of clothing, this is the thing that I didn't quite hit the nail on. I'd never been on a cruise, even though the group that I was going with, some had, but it was about working out what type of clothes and the range of clothes to take. So in your preparation phase, one of the things to try and balance out, you're going to need day wear, you're going to need swimwear if you want to go swimming, and I'd really advise you to do that. But you certainly need day wear, and you need evening wear, and you need formal wear, because there are nights on the ship, which is sort of like called the captain's celebration. And so it requires a particular, standard of dress wear. So you can have casual through the day, for example, and then in this wonderful bulletin that you will receive on whichever cruise you go on to, you get this bulletin, and every day they will indicate, okay, tonight it's casual wear, smart casual, no jeans or no trainers, for example, or it would say this, it's formal wear. So tonight, everybody should be getting dressed up, the men in black tie, the women in evening gowns. And I have to say, it was a beautiful sight whenever it was a sense of, this kind of celebration night when everybody gets dressed up. It's beautiful, because how often in your everyday life do you get to wear evening wear? So it's like this really concentrated experience of, your day wear, your casuals, your smart casuals, and then the opportunity and the chance to really dress up It was beautiful. So don't forget to pack formal wear and get the balance right. I didn't quite get the balance right because I didn't have enough day wear, even though there were times I was chilling out, very much so, taking in the sun's rays on deck. So you want a balance of these things. There are so many activities that are taking place on the ship, but you might want to bring with you books, for example. Yes, there are lots of activities, but you may want some quiet time or just wanting to do your own thing. So I would suggest in the preparation, are there books that you want to bring or magazines that you want to bring or just writing implements, because it's time where you can craft out time to think about that book you may want to write, or it's just something that gives you time to navigate some of your dreams and to then put them down on paper. So you may want to bring books that you want to read, and they can be just those chilling books, those throwaway type of books. It might be you want to download music, even though there is music on the ship, you know, they have a formal sense, they'll have entertainment through the day, but just thinking of, as you're preparing, what do I want to bring that helps to entertain me in those quieter moments, or when you choose not to be part of a group. So I went with a group. My spirit is that I'm a standalone person. I can do my own thing so comfortably in my own skin, but I'm also a stand with, stand together, stand amongst, be part of a group. So when you're preparing for your cruise, think about the type of person that you are. What is it that appeals to you? Are you the sort of person that always needs people around you? Trust me, when you're on a cruise ship, there are going to be thousands of people around you. So on the Avia ship, it takes about 5,500 people, but it wasn't to full capacity. There were about 2,500 of us. And so it was quite roomy. I never felt as if it was totally congested. It wasn't like that at all. Is there music that you want to download? So just think of, what is it that I can bring with me that I can entertain myself? Or it could be a deck of cards. They have board games on the ship. So there's lots to do on the ship. But given that there are so many people on the ship, you might want to be bringing your own things. So definitely do that. Packing, as I've identified, the types of things that you want to do. And, you know, planning far ahead enough. In the preparation as well, think about the currency. Yes, I know we're all now moving to digital currency and we're paying by cards and what have you, but there are regions in the world that still take cash. So, you know, which countries, which islands are you going to? What currency do they use? You know, can you use the dollar? Can you use the pound? Can you use the euro? Checking out the exchange rates. Yes, you can change money on the ships or you can change money at the ATMs. But just think about, what do I need to have in place to ensure that I'm going to have a great time? So these are some of the things to think about as you are preparing for your trip. So we've dealt with the packing. What else? There's so many things to cover on here. We've dealt with the packing. So you've got all of that taken on board. So there's a sense of packing, but then there's overpacking. So when you're sailing, if you're doing a complete sailing tour, whereby you're not doing a sail out, but you're flying back like we did, we flew back from Barbados, just think about the luggage that you take with it, because invariably it's about 22, 23 kilos, particularly if you're doing a cruise and a flying journey back to your destination. But if you're just cruising, you might be able to take more clothes. But having said that, you know, you might be overpacking. So there's things that I brought that I didn't wear, didn't need to wear. So just think about this balance of what you need to take, why you need to take them, what can be washed on board. There's a full laundry on there. You know, all of the amenities are there. Don't forget, obviously, your passport. Don't pack that in your case. Don't forget your tickets and medications. If you're somebody that takes one or more medications, always pack that type of stuff in your carry-on, particularly when you're if you're flying to your cruise destination, or if you're flying from your cruise destination, you want to have these things in place. Now, onboard experiences. Well, there is so much. And as I've already indicated, on P&O Avia, and no doubt on all other ships, you will have this daily bulletin. It was called the Horizon here on the P&O Avia. And every day, as you can see, it's literally just a full packed schedule from morning right the way through evening. So it gives you a sense of what's happening literally by the hour. Now you could be going to the gym. So I'm somebody, I go to the gym at least 3 times a week. On the ship, this was fantastic. So they have a full gym there. They have spa facilities. So if you're somebody that you know you like to get your workout routines in, you can do that. That's free of charge. Now, for some activities, it was a nominal fee, and that's where you would get smaller classes, for example. You would pay that. That might be around Pilates or yoga or stretch, but invariably you had a full working gym. So that was fantastic for somebody like me. You had the spa treatments, but then also you had these fantastic onboard talks. And talks were given by, maybe experts in their field or enthusiasts in their field, and they could range anything from, the different types of rum that you might be experiencing on board, but also when you get to your destination. P&O Avia actually have its own rum distillery, so there were talks around that. It's a whole kind of, not quite shopping mall, but there's a shopping area on the ship, and that sells jewelry and perfume. Just imagine like a duty-free type of zone that's on board as well. They had an art gallery on there, so I went to an art exhibition, and then there was an art raffle, and then there were talks. Loved the talk about Frida Kahlo and her life and the difficulties that she had and how that really generated the art that she did. There was a talk about Tracy Emin, the British artist. So you might have that. It could be that there are talks about health and beauty and cupping and holistic treatment, just literally just the gamut of interests that you can have, because I want you to think about the onboard experience. Literally, a cruise is a floating city. Just think of your area. You want to go out for the night, there's everything. There's theatre on there, there's film on there, there's live entertainment, there's a jazz bar, there's a live orchestra, there's disco, there's comedy, there's a plethora of things to do. So one of the things I would advise you to do is get up early. Don't sleep in too often, because you can miss a whole range of activities. That's very well organized, very well structured. I have to say the onboard experience really was luxury. The environment was stunning. The environment was beautiful, but also our room assistants were so caring. They catered to every one of our needs, just to make sure that everyone was having a fantastic onboard experience. So the onboard experience is that you can really luxuriate in the facilities. You can have time alone. You can be in conversation, communication with other people. They had these different types of bars. So if you wanted a quieter zone, you could have that. Or if you wanted on board and outside, you'd have like swim up bars. You'd have a whole range of bars outside. You'd have the whirlpool. Really, it was, you could feast on all of the different activities, and also you could take time for yourself. So the way that the ship is designed, there are different areas. You can use the deck chairs. You can be lying out and sunbathing, and then you'd have more reclined areas. It really was a feast for the senses, a feast of activity that you could dip in and out. There was no pressure to be part of anything. This was your holiday. You treat it exactly how you want to and get the most from it. So my time was spent sometimes with my friends and getting to know some of the new people that I hadn't met before. Sometimes I was by myself, just relaxing, unwinding, reflecting, taking in the sun, dreaming, writing, journaling. It was just beautiful. So you have a whole range of experiences on board the ship and what it has to offer. Now, always pay attention to the time scales on board. When dinner is served, there's clarity around that. Or if you're planning for excursions, and that's what I'm about to move into next, you have these shore excursions. You can do booked tours and you can do independent tours. Now, given that I hadn't been on a cruise before, I thought, well, I don't want to book everything prior to me actually being on the ship, because what happens is maybe about 6 weeks to 4 weeks before your actual cruise date, your cruise liner, they will open up the facilities for you so you can see all the different types of restaurants, the cuisine that they offer, what's on board. You can book like spa treatments, you can book not hotels, you can book your restaurants and what have you. But I didn't want to feel as if I had to do these things. I wanted to have a sense and a feel of this. So you don't have to, if you don't want to, book everything in advance. But once you get onto the ship, it's about exploring what's there. And I would really spend time doing that. It's a huge, environment, but just spend time going around, taking it all in, and then deciding. When it came to the experiences, so we went to Gran Canaria. We did an independent tour, and that was really about walking around the main city area. If you're really into shopping, I'm not particularly into shopping. I'm not a shopping type of woman that runs out every Saturday to do that. So it was more of a kind of gentle day, I suppose. That was in Gran Canaria. So you might choose to do an independent, or we had, the majority were booked tours. So after Gran Canaria, and we had sailed on to the Caribbean, the first stop was the Tortola, the British Virgin Islands, which was fantastic. Absolutely loved that. We had a booked tour. Our guide was brilliant, very conversational, very witty, was pointing out things. There was lots of laughter on our coach, and we got off. Thoroughly enjoyed and felt it was worth the money to do the tour. St. Kitts and Martinique and Barbados, they were booked tours. St. Kitts had a different energy, and that's absolutely fine. It's a different ship. It's a different city. It's a different environment. So we had a structured tour around that, and they can last maybe 3 to 4 hours. So that's what it tends to be, that you either have a morning trip booked or an afternoon trip booked. But what's really clear is once you're on board, they make it really clear, come back on time. And for us, it was around about 5 to 5:30 was the time that everybody had to board. And they're really punctual. And they need to be, because obviously they have places that they have booked for when they need to sail to the next destination. And it has been known, if people miss boarding time to come back onto the ship, they will literally sail without you. So please pay attention to whatever the instructions and the guidance that they give you on board. Pay attention to that, because they do actually leave you. I felt that the tour in Barbados, we were underserved there. The reason was because from the end of the tour, we were taken straight to the airport. I didn't really get a feel of the country, of the island, which is a shame, because the whole point was about tasting these different Caribbean islands. And our time wasn't very well used, in that by the time we got to the airport, we had at least 5-6 hours at the airport, which felt like dead time, waiting for our flight to come back to London. So I would say, when you're booking your tours, next time I go on a cruise, I will combine independent tours with booked tours. Definitely, I would do that. And in terms of what didn't really work for me, I would say the range of food. Now, if you're a meat eater and you're used to eating lots of processed food, that's one thing. The majority, I would say 95% of the food, and there were lots of choices. If you are a meat eater, I'm a vegan. having been a vegan for nearly 9 years, and I had to step into vegetarian food at a push because there were really limited choices. Yes, they say there's restaurants that have vegan and vegetarian food, limited, I would say, and the majority of it was processed. And as somebody that I've got, some would describe as a limited diet, or the way that I eat, that was a bit of a struggle for me. So in the planning for the next time that I go on a cruise, I did bring my own supplies, but they ran out, like nuts and seeds. I live on nuts and seeds. But I noticed across the 30 odd restaurant or eating places, high processed food. So that didn't work for me. And what I also felt that they missed out on was that this was a Caribbean tour. Yes, it was partially European. We went to Gran Canaria first, but the majority of the destinations were the Caribbean. There was British Virgin Islands, there was Tortola, there was St. Kitts, there was Martinique, there was Barbados, and they didn't serve Caribbean food in any of the restaurants throughout the whole cruise, which I just thought, no, that really was negligent. Because the whole thing about the cruise experience, in my view, and I'm certainly going to feed back to them, is that you're going to different destinations. And the whole point is to have this cultural experience. I'm a culture vulture, so I'm looking for that. I am of Caribbean background, particularly Jamaican. But nonetheless, we're going to the Caribbean. There was no Caribbean food, which I just thought that was such an oversight. And I don't know how they actually arrived at that decision, because I'm sure it's not just one department that takes care of food. But nonetheless, I felt that the food options were very limited, particularly if you are vegan, vegetarian, and particularly if you're a whole food vegan, like I am a whole food vegan. The majority of food I eat is I prepare it myself, and it's whole food. So I would say that's the one criticism, a major criticism, that I would have of the cruise experience. And then secondly, as I said, this whole idea of not having Caribbean food. But overall, it's excellent value for money. You can do it relatively on a budget, particularly if you do the repositioning cruises. As I mentioned, you have the winter and you have the summer seasons. You can book earlier, you get good deals, but also if you book nearer the time, what tends to happen, they may not have sold all of their units in terms of the cabins. You could have indoor cabins, which I shared a room with a friend of mine. We had an indoor cabin, and even though it was indoor and there were no windows, it didn't feel claustrophobic. It was really nicely designed. We weren't kind of falling over each other. It was great. Then you have balcony, you have mini suites, there's a whole range. But if you book nearer the time, you may be able to pick up quite a good deal. So keep your eyes open for those types of things. So plan way in advance. Think about your food options and what you need to bring with you. I'm certainly bearing that in mind for the next time that I go. Be punctual, particularly when you're doing your shore excursions. You have to be back on time or they will leave you. Take advantage of everything that's going on the ship. Now, you might feel overwhelmed. There are so many different choices, but at the same time, you don't have to be participating in everything that's going on, because there is a lot. So you can bring discernment into it. If you just want to chill and relax, you can do that. If you want a bit of a pick and mix, they had a pub on the ship where, if you're into football, they had, large screens. They really recreated what a local area, what a local city looks like, but it's just floating on the ocean. So that's what I wanted to share with you in terms of going on a cruise, ticking off your bucket list. I feel great because I've ticked off another bucket list item, which is to cruise. My whole kind of raison d'etre is to be out in the world and, seeing as much of the world as possible. So I've started ticking off countries that I wanted to go to. I'd already been to St. Kitts, but I didn't mind because it was part and parcel of this whole kind of tour experience. You can do the budget, decide what type of tour that you want to do or what kind of experience. And I will say that I've never been in an environment and actually witnessed an environment working like clockwork. It was quite amazing. The engineering feat that these ships have to perform to ensure that everybody, their needs, how people are registered on the ship, how you pay on the ship. So the way that you pay on the ship is that you have a card, which I have my card here. It's a memento of mine. So you get a signing in card, and this is literally what allows you to go in and out of activities and off the ship. If you want to purchase anything on board, you just present your card and then it gets registered. And then at the end, you're presented with your final bill and they take that off. It really is so well organized on every single level. I know I've got a criticism about the food, but I'm looking at things overall. And it was wonderful for somebody like me and for other people who, you know, that you live by yourself, for example, and so you're taking care of every aspect of your life, and just not to think about housework and not to think about the washing and not to think about, you know, what food am I going to eat tonight, even though, as I've already said about the limitations of the food. But it was wonderful to feel catered for. I felt pampered. We all felt looked after. And I would actively encourage you. It's an economical way to see the world, to taste, you know, to have this cultural experience. Excuse me, to have this cultural experience. And for me to be surrounded by water. You know, once we docked, we did have a beach day, and the beach day was in Martinique, which was just glorious. You know, I love walking along, sandy beaches, you know, literally just paddling away and then doing a deep swim. One of my goals for 2024 is to do a 5K swim, and I sort of kicked that off in Martinique, and it was just magical on so many different levels. So the cruise experience, that's what I would share with you. That's what I think you should be really looking at, these 4 areas: the planning stage, the preparation stage, demarcating it, having your kickoff, your own personal kickoff. For me, as I said, once I'd paid, and then once I had booked my train ticket. That was fantastic because that was 2.5 months before my cruise. Thinking about the clothes that you need to bring with you, the things you want to bring, you know, your books, your pens, whatever it is that's going to keep you occupied and interested, as well as what's going on the ship. The ship itself, the luxurious environment, the clean environment, there was so much going on and so much that you could dip into. And then you have the shore experiences, and particularly those with a special diet, or I don't even see veganism as a special diet. It's just an additional diet. That was a little bit of a weakness, to say the least. I'm so glad that I'm back so I can start revitalizing my body again, because I just feel as if there was so much processed food. But beyond that, I will definitely be cruising again. I would love to hear your cruise experiences. If you've been before, what was it like? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Or were there bits that you liked and bits that you felt they could have done a bit more to improve that? What are you excited about? I'd love to hear what your comments are. So please put them in the comment box below. And I will see you again next Sunday. It felt really weird not live streaming over the last couple of weeks. That's another thing, the internet package. You could buy a package in advance. That was quite expensive. And then the day rate for the internet was like £24 a day. So it was very expensive. And when I bought the packages, I couldn't use it because I couldn't upload anything. They run on satellite and Wi-Fi, and it was just a bit limited and very, 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 very slow. I remember I was trying to upload a video for you all on the first week, and literally hours in, and it only kind of downloaded 2%. It was ridiculous. So if you want to buy the internet packages, just bear in mind they are very expensive. So you might just want to do one a week. So that's what I did. I did one. Yeah, I did. I think I did two packages. But beyond that, it's great to be back. I had a wonderful time, and I was able to tick off one of my bucket list items, actually having a luxurious cruise experience, and then ticking off countries. I set a goal a few years ago of traveling to, I think it's 100 countries by 2025. I haven't done 100 countries yet, but I have done about 30-ish countries. So who knows, in the next couple of years, I hope I can tick off another 70 to hit my goal. And if I don't hit my goal, that's absolutely fine. I'll just extend the dates. But yeah, I wish this for those of you who are into adventure travel, but also luxury travel, but also slow travel. That's the beautiful thing about cruising. It just gives you time to unfold yourself and relax and chill and contemplate and have fun and just the whole kind of human experience. It was fabulous. Anyway, I'll see you all again next Sunday. In the meantime, have a fantastic week and stay well. Bye-bye.